Robin Copeland, thanks a million. Hey, tell me this and tell me no more. Are you anything to the suits guy?
Distant relative. I have met him.
Have you?
I have. In Dublin. I got introduced to him one day in Dublin, but very distant relative. My uncle knows him, but I wouldn't know him at all now. But somewhere along the line, a distant relative indeed, but distant all the same.
Thanks. By the way, welcome to Buckshot. Thanks a million for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
For the audio listeners, we got to see Robin's unbelievable dog. It's the color. It was an Australian sheepdog.
Sheepdog, yeah.
How did you pick an Australian sheepdog? How did that make? Because
they're the kind of dog I've always wanted. I always wanted a sheepdog or something along those lines. And my cousin actually had an Australian Shepherd mix a few years ago, and they kind of come in three colors. Like there's a grey one, a grey blue color, and they have bright blue eyes.
Oh yeah.
There's a brown one, and then the one I have is tricolor, which is like a brown, black, and white. And we were looking for a good while for any of them really, and we were looking hours away for one, and then all of a sudden one popped up in a farm like 10 minutes from here. Sure, as soon as my missus went out and saw him, then that was that. That was the end of it. Just came over then. Yeah,
we went down to you're originally from Wexford, aren't you?
Yeah.
We did the only place in the country you could get schnauzers in this small enclave in Wexford, where these three women schnauzer breeders have it locked down like Tony Soprano style. Nobody gets a look in countrywide. And they claim, it's to keep the bloodline pure and make sure nobody's doing silly buggers. But it's like the mafia. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh man, it's an absolute like shit show. Like there's the price they're charging for it as well. Like some purebred stuff is absolutely insane. Like my father-in-law now said this morning when I told him we were getting the dog's nuts chopped off next week, he was like, "Geez, would you not keep him and get a breed out of him or something?" Like honestly, it's just not worth the hassle. Every evening about 6-7 o'clock after dinner, it's witching hour, and then if there's a spare leg left out somewhere, he's on it. So they have to go.
Yeah, we got the girl version, and I immediately had to, because the last thing I needed was dogs pretty much ringing the doorbell like it was prom. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Mr. O'Mahony, can your dog come out to play?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly that. Oh, like he was like, we live next to a woods and stuff, and take him there for walks every day and stuff. And even the last few days now, he'd get a sniff of something and he's gone. Like 10 minutes, you wouldn't see him, and you're like, oh Jesus, where the frick is he, or who the hell is he on or with, or whatever. So just for safety's sake, we have to give him the chop.
Yeah, comes back smoking a cigarette. Everything's okay, guys. It's all right.
That's 30 seconds of my life.
How's life in France anyway?
Yeah, it's great, man. Yeah. Loving it. Don't want to leave, to be honest. Thinking about retiring in the summer, but might stay here for another while. Just because both myself and my girlfriend can work from home, and I've kind of been tipping away at a bit of work for an Irish company, but we can both work from home. So ideally, we would like to stay here for another few years anyway, and see how we go. And the way things are back home, there's nothing really to go home for at the moment. Like trying to find a place to live, and everything's just so expensive. We're like, why are we going home to spend all our wages on somewhere to live? So we're just gonna stay here for another while, I think, and enjoy the weather and countryside and all the rest.
It's the dream scenario, isn't it? Like if you do retire, like to pack it in on your own terms and go, no, just nicely blend into that's the dream scenario.
Oh man, it's dream stuff. Like, and I was so lucky with like the job that I kind of have a job waiting for me, like ready to go when I retire, and there's no pressure of what's next and the stress of it.
Yeah.
I'm preparing for that now, and I'm doing all that work experience, and so when I do retire, I'm ready, like, and just no fear of what's next. And I think every rugby player is afraid of that, that what are they going to do next? And
I just finished Keith Earls' book, Mother of God. It's the most harrowing thing you'll ever read from beginning to end. It's because it's just mostly anxiety. Like, what am I going to do after this?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Like, of course, and like, someone like him would probably wasn't prepared for, a life after rugby, really. That would be a constant anxiety, and when you're trying to support your family and your kids, and wonder where the next paycheck is going to come when you retire, and when you've given so much to one thing for so long, to then not be able to do that in any way, to completely change, that's terrifying. And I completely understand why he'd have anxiety about it, because you'd be stupid if you didn't, really. You kind of need the fear sometimes to motivate you to do something and put things in place. But no, look, I think like most in my life, I've been pretty lucky now with everything worked out.
And where in Wexford are you originally from?
Gorey.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, just outside Gorey. Yeah, my parents are dairy farmers just outside Gorey. So.
And there's no chance you're going back and throwing on the old overalls, like. And I knew halfway through that sentence you just had a look like. No.
I've seen far too much of the good life now to be going back and shoveling shite. I'll tell you
that. That's what it is. Lads think they love farming, but you're like, maybe you've just never tried anything else.
Yeah. I've never been interested in farming, really. Like, in the summer when the sun is shining and there's not too much going on, and you can have a few hours off in the middle of the day, and it's things are going well. That's the lifestyle is nice. But when it's piss and rain, freezing cold in the middle of winter, it's dark most of the time, and you're all day just slogging away, and things are going wrong. If you don't absolutely love farming, it's just going to hammer you, like.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't for me, like. So.
And I remember the first time. Well, I remember the first time I saw you, it was in Thomond, but you were playing for Cardiff. And
that wasn't. I don't. If that memory serves, that was not a good day for us. I think we got absolutely hammered that day.
No, but something tells me not alarm bells, but like that, the same look that your dog would give another. Like, I'm guessing the Munster selectors were going, who's this now? Because you took off in a canter, burned everybody, and scored a try, and it was like, who's this?
This guy.
There's no. It's not spelled Copeland with a strange. It's actually, he's Irish. Let's have a look. See. Would you reckon that was when you turned a few heads at that's because that was a nice expo?
Yeah, like, I kind of. Well, I was playing in the UK, like in the championship for 2 years, and I was fighting to work towards something, and some of the goals I'd written down was to kind of either get to an Irish province or at least put myself in a club where they played against them week in, week out. And that year before I signed for Cardiff, I had offers from Premiership clubs, and then Cardiff in the Pro 14, and I said, look, I'll get to play against Irish clubs and get my name out there, and that's that's what happened. And when you get to play against the Munsters and the Leinsters and everything, that's your opportunity to shine, and you have to take those opportunities when they come. So yeah,
that was crafty. Now, was that your thinking, or was that an agent or a manager's thinking?
No, that was my thinking. Like, I made a plan when I was in the championship. A coach just said to me, he's like, do you want to play for Ireland? And I was playing like second division in England, not really playing that great because I wasn't really that committed, to be honest. Like, I was trying to win the games, but outside of that, wasn't really giving 100%, and I was just enjoying myself. It was like, I was good at rugby, and it was good crack, and I was with lads who had fun with, and we were going out in the piss and blah blah. And then he said that, and I was like, no, like what? Like, laughed at it. He was like, no, seriously, like,
you sound like a bold child.
I was like,
What?
what are you on about? Like, you idiot. Like, you clearly don't know what you're talking about. But then, he was just like, look, if you actually commit to it, give it everything. And, there's a stepping stone process where you can get to where you want to go. And I was like, okay, say I did want to play for Ireland, what would that look like? I'd need to play in Ireland. I'd need to play like a position I'm best at. I'd need to, if I can't get to a club in Ireland, I need to play against the Irish clubs like regularly. Okay, so I need to play it, in Wales or Scotland or Italy or wherever that played against them week in, week out. And then hopefully I can get back home. And, I planned it all out in my head as a structure of, okay, that's the goal, that's the goal, that's the goal. And to do that, I need to play well in every game. And then to do that, I need to train better and I need to eat better. And it all just, starts off with big goals and then trickle back down to just one process at a time. And like it kind of built from there, really.
Yeah, I can remember that day, and you stood out for Cardiff, obviously because you were an Irish guy as well, but you knew it was almost like a similar thing happened with Tyke Byrne that time. He stood out with Scarlets.
Yeah.
So again, their heads were turned going, oh, hello.
Yeah. And like, players like him and myself who probably struggle to see the pathway at their own club at a younger age. And like, it can be demotivating, but there's so much opportunity out there for guys at other clubs and other places that they go and they get regular game time that they can just improve and work on things week in, week out. Like I dislocated my shoulder in Christmas or January of my first year at Munster. And before that, I hadn't missed 2 weeks in a row my whole career, like I've just been so lucky injury-wise, and that allowed me to work on things. And I played so much, week in, week out. And that's what players need, especially when they're young. And I was so lucky to have that, and that definitely helped with my development.
How did you end up in England though, early doors? Because I mean, again, that's a smart enough move in one way, because at least you'll get game time. Because there's nothing worse than watching. I was talking with a chap today about Jake Flannery. He's like fourth for Munster. He ain't getting a look in, but he's off now. He's heading. He's like, and apparently a couple of English clubs. And they're still telling me, oh, you got to stay in Ireland, but he'll be fourth string anywhere he goes. Like, but
this is the thing. The Irish clubs will always play off the pride of your home province,
of course,
and you need to stay in Ireland if you want to play for Ireland. It's like, okay, but there's pride and there's like playing for Ireland, and then there's a career and it's your job and it's your future and your livelihood that you have to think about as well. And you have to do what's best for that at the end of the day. If you're going to be a professional rugby player, you have to get the most out of it. So clubs know that, clubs play off that, and they'll kind of encourage you to stay out of pride or honor or whatever. But like, if the roles are reversed and they don't want you, there's no pride and honor. It's business, it's all business then. So look, there is loads of opportunity for guys like that abroad, and it's amazing what careers people can have in other places.
But how did you go from school then? Because you were young in England, were you?
Yeah, so like I was Leinster sub academy or whatever when I left school for the first year, and I hated it. Like I was the only lad from outside of Dublin. It was all like, I was like, oh my God, I have nothing in common with these people. Like, what is going on? And like, I didn't really know what it was I was like being signed into. I played like Leinster underage, and I'd gone to trials and I'd done well, and they were like, I just got this letter said, okay, like you're in the sub academy thing, just be at this training at this date. And I was like, okay, I don't know what any of that is, but I'll go. But I rocked up like to this training day, and we trained like weights in the morning. They went in, it was like, okay, just warm up on the bench. I was like, okay, put 60 kilos on the bar, and I was like, oof. And they were like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, man, I've never done this before. And they were like, what? You've never done a bench press before? I was like, no, like, what the hell am I doing? What is this? And so I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I've never done this before. Like, what's this all about? And they're like, in the first day, fine. And I was like, okay, so like, am I coming back like next week or something? They're like, what? No, like you're in tomorrow. Like this is full time. I was like, oh, like nobody even explained that to me.
I haven't brought spare jocks. What?
Yeah, like no one told me what this is. So it's like being given a job and not being told it's actually a full-time job. Like I was like, okay, I thought it was like another trial day or something.
Adorable.
Like literally just nobody actually explained to me what it was I was getting into. I was like, oh, okay, all right, sweet. So anyway, I was kind of like figuring it out and not really knowing what I was in, and as I was going, and I just wasn't really enjoying it. And I was working hard when I was in there, and I improved a lot, like especially in the gym and stuff. But they offered me the same again for the following year, and I was just like, look, college isn't going great. Like I can't juggle both, and if I give up college and do this, then if this fails, I'll have nothing. And I was just like, I can't risk doing that at the moment. And so I just gave up the rugby, that in Leinster side of things. And then I was just in college, so I was still playing for St. Mary's, and I like started a rugby team in my college, and like there was, out of 15 guys that started, I'd say only 6 of them had ever played before. Like it was just
Brilliant.
me and my mates just having crack, play for them on a Wednesday, and then play for St. Mary's on a Saturday. Just having crack, enjoying it, making the most of it. And then my final year in college, was playing like AAL or whatever, and I was doing really well. And it was like top try scorer in the league that year. And then just an agent came to me, he's like, look, have you ever thought about playing professional? And I was like, well, not really, like, but
you mean every day? Have I got to show up every day? Is that what you're telling me?
I was like, okay, so this is full time, yeah. So he was like, look, there's a club in the UK that they could be interested if you wanted to go and like give it a go. I was like, okay, I can either go on irishjobs.ie now that I'm finished college and try and find a real job in the real world, or I can go over and play rugby for a little while, and if it doesn't work out, I'll be exactly where I am now in like a year's time, so no harm, no foul, I'll enjoy it, whatever. So that's kind of my attitude towards it when I first went over, was just like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I'm having crack, like whatever.
Yeah.
And I did have lots of crack.
Who did you go to? What did you play for?
Plymouth.
Rotherham? Oh,
Plymouth first. Plymouth for a year, and then I went to Rotherham. And it was when I first moved to Rotherham, that's when I actually kind of started getting the head down and working. And I kind of was blessed injury-wise, and I was kind of blessed genetically as well. I was just...
It's that farmer breeding you give out about the farm.
Farmer breeding, yeah.
With that farmer breeding, even if you look at the Leinster team right now, you could pick out still a load of they're farmer adjacent. There's some they're
yeah, it's just stocky, like
Yeah.
So yeah, look, and then I put the head down, worked hard, and I was like player of the championship that year, and I had lots of offers from Premiership clubs, and obviously from Cardiff then as well. So put myself in a great position.
It was, yeah, because I mean, what a G, like the fact that at least there was somebody to put their hand on your shoulder and go, there is a path to this, because almost you'll get that in almost no gig. Normally you're just going here, dick around, and hopefully it works out for you. Certainly. Yeah. Certainly in comedy anyway, or even the arts world, there's no paths. There is no path,
and like, I guess I wasn't the textbook guy from the start, and every player responds to different people, and like that coach at that time in Rotherham was really helpful towards me, and he gave me loads of opportunity to shine. But I know other guys at that club who he absolutely hounded and like made life a misery, and like definitely did not get the best out of them. So you can be, there's different strokes for different folks. It's not necessarily the best coach in the world, but he's the right thing for the right person at the right time. Then maybe you can get the best out of someone.
He spotted the culture in you. That's what it was. Because
well, when he first called me, I was actually on a tractor on the farm, and every time I speak to him, he always says it to me like, he's like, I rang you. He's South African guy. I rang you. You were on the farm. I took you from the farm. I made you an international. I was like, all right, well, it wasn't all you, big dog. So like,
But the one of the things that actually stood out to me, and it was early doors when you were playing for Munster, because obviously, you know, you start paying attention to who's after joining and everything else, but it was your humor, and you had it, like, as a comedian, you're watching people, and for the most part, God bless them, sports people, do you know, they're like a door frame, you know what I mean? They're practical, but very little fucking crack. Like, but you could always tell there was something behind. I was like, is he getting hampered? I'd love the coach just went, you know what, you should be the spokesman for the club to draw in, because I don't know, was it Snapchat or what it was at the time? What was the medium at the time? But you were like, you were dynamite on it. I remember thinking, he's being wasted to a degree. Like, you know, is that a thing? That's what I'm saying is, can you get stuffy old bastards who'd go?
They're like, even like now, but my whole career, people are like, what is going on? Like, every time in the gym, like I'll come in, I'm in charge of the music, and I'm just like singing and dancing and bopping, like, just, you know, and some people, like, you know, some coaches have been like, you need to relax, like, in the gym, you're not taking it seriously. I'm like, no, if I'm singing and dancing and bopping around the place, then I'm working hard, like, I'm enjoying it, I'm going, like, if I'm in there and I'm not saying anything, my head is down, I'm quiet, it's because I'm wrecked, and I'm flat, and I'm just doing the bare minimum, you know. That's just the way I work, and I don't really care what anyone else thinks either. Like, if they think, why is he dancing, or why is he singing, or why is he acting above, I don't, you know, I don't care. Like, this is me. I've always been that way, and I'm going to make the most of every situation that I'm in, you know, and enjoy it as much as I can. And it's, you know, it's worked reasonably well for me. I think, you know, some people I've had to try and convince that it's okay that I'm like this. I'm not.
Yeah, like, that's what blows my mind. Like, if you're in the theatre world, they'd be just like, of course he's like this. This is whereas, like, it's just another form of performance, really, is all sports is. Yeah. But it's the kind of stuffy old nose, like, and lads just don't want to let go. That's the thing, they're frightened to let go, because, you know, you talk to guys when the camera isn't on them or whatever, and they just cut loose, or after they retire they cut loose, you know.
No, like, it's I don't know, but when I was younger, I was like, oh, I just don't feel shame at all. Like, that part of my brain is not there, you know, that I get embarrassed about stuff or whatever. I don't, and I think now that I'm older, I don't think that was it. I think it was just, I was fearless about what people thought of me. You know, I didn't really care if someone thought it was like, oh, you know, that wasn't funny, or that was stupid. It was like, sure, I don't care. I'm enjoying myself. Like, you know, what does it matter to you, or whatever, you know. That was my mentality on things a lot of the time anyway. Just enjoy it, make the most of it.
I find that very interesting, especially coming from technically rural Ireland, like, because I was very similar to that, and I'm having a crack, are you coming with me, kind of a thing. So I always find, do you know have you any idea where that came from? Like, was there a big family of you, or you're an only child, or how many?
No, I think a lot of my family is the opposite of that.
Oh.
And I think I was kind of like rebelling against it a bit. I was like,
right.
So, you know, my parents would be like, oh, you can't do that, you can't say that, you can't. And I was like, why not? Like, you know what? Like, who cares? Like, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, none of it matters. It's just somebody having crack. If they're being rude, or, you know, inappropriate, or taking a piss out of somebody else, or go too far, like, obviously, like, you know, there's a line. But if you're just, you know, having a crack with people and it's all innocent fun, then what's it matter? Like, and I guess, like, I had pretty reasonably bad ADHD as a kid as well, so I was just always hyper and trying to, like, distract myself and distract other people. And I guess it was a balance of finding the point of being annoying and okay, at what point are you being annoying, and what point is it, like, still funny, you know, that kind of way. So I suppose being slightly aware of that fact at a younger age probably helped a bit as well. And
you've pretty much described yourself as a possible stand-up comedian. You did, like, where you're finding the balance between your ADHD, your lunacy, and trying to create good crack in the room. That's essentially it. Like,
well, maybe you can train me if you get a chance.
Do you know what? There's
blank canvas.
Well, you can see it in people. Like people, you can train anything, but you really can't teach stand up. You can't teach it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like live performing comedy anyway. You can't. Like, but you can see it
no,
straight away, even through the medium of social media. You can see it if people have that. Oh, okay. They have their timing. They have the eye move. The whole like there was even stuff you put up. It's like, I know you didn't think about doing it, but you'd have to teach somebody to move to just react to the moment that the camera, you know where the green light is. That's what they call it. You know where the green light is. Like,
yeah.
So do you think rugby kind of, if it wasn't rugby, would you have possibly ended up, because would you have ended up in theatre? Something, you needed something extreme, I'd say, to wrangle you.
Like I did music. I played piano for like 4 or 5 years when I was younger in primary school, and I did like plays and stuff, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I auditioned for Oliver Twist in Gorey when I was younger, and they were like, "Oh, you're kind of too tall and healthy looking." I was like, "Okay." You don't really look like an orphan child. It's like, okay. So that kind of like was like, okay, well, maybe it's not for me then.
Can we get an unhealthy tiny child, please?
There was no shortage of them in Gorey, so they were spoiled for choice. They didn't need a big, long, lanky, healthy fella. So yeah, look, that was kind of maybe if I had got in there, I would have like explored that a bit more. But it didn't happen, and whatever. Sure, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, no, you did all right.
Did all right, yeah.
Yeah, you did all right.
So, everything happens for a reason, So
the difference, from going from something like, say, Connacht, Munster, where it's all Christ, everybody, it's intense, and then you go to France. Is it a beautiful kind of juxtaposition? Now you can slip in, or because you're coming with, let's be honest, you put serious IP into your body, and your rugby playing brain too. Like, not saying that you can come off the throttle a small bit, but it's the pressure off a small bit going to France.
I hoped it would be,
right.
It didn't really turn out that way, just because I came from where I came from, and the French club, they rely on foreign players to lead and to be an example and show their experience and blah blah. Because the French guys won't. They're just like, they'll turn up and do what they're told, or whatever. But they're not really the ones to drive standards or
classic French.
Pure really detailed, yeah. Like they don't like being told. So it's, I hoped it would just be like, okay, go off over into France, 2 years, enjoy right off into the sunset of my career, make the most of it, drink some wine, all the rest. Didn't really turn out that way. It was kind of pretty stressful because we were losing a lot of games, and coaches weren't great, and I was like, oh my god, like we're doing everything wrong, like why are we doing this, like can we just change everything? And then you get thrust in that position of like trying to steer the ship. And I guess like now I've very much a leadership role within the team, and I enjoy that, but it's definitely not as relaxed as I was kind of hoping when I first came over. But like at the same time, I actually really enjoy being that leader role and showing my experience and knowing how to fix problems. And when something goes wrong and I see things, I'm like, I know how to fix that, and I can be like, okay, everyone just stop and listen, and if we get this right, then it will make a difference. And I guess that's what's made me enjoy the last kind of 5-6 months the most, is just having that bit of a leadership role and enjoying a bit more responsibility and a bit more weight on my shoulders. And it's the games aren't as intense as they would be at the top level, obviously, but the processes are still very similar.
You're going to end up a coach there, aren't you? They're going to try and coerce you into being a coach there.
They kind of are. Well, first of all, they don't want me to retire. And I'm like, well, look, I have a job lined up. And if I don't take this job, then I don't know what I'll do in a year's time when I retire. And what am I not retiring for exactly? One more year of the same thing. It's like, I'm enjoying my rugby and I'm playing, pretty well or whatever, happy with how I'm going. But I'm also looking forward to not, having my feet stood on and pre-season and getting punched and cold training sessions and using strapping to replace ligaments and all the other things that go with being a professional athlete. And I've done it for long enough now. I'm happy with my decision going forward. I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it like there's absolutely no affirmative thing coming from you at all. You're like,
no.
You know what you are? You have a pocket full of money in the pub, and it's and you can get a taxi home, but you should go home. But still, the crack is kind of good. And they're going,
exactly that.
The tunes are after coming on as well because the DJ is starting out. The shite band is finished, and you're like, oh, it's a late bar. I forgot it was a late bar.
Yeah, and because I'm in the gold books with the coaches now, they're looking after me a bit better, and they're like, okay, like the coach said to me a while ago, he was like, we know you're not 22 anymore, from now on, we'll just let you play the home games and maybe the odd game or something. I was like, oh, stop sweeping me up, you bastard. Like, you know what you're doing. You're trying to make it easy. And then you're like, Jesus, last year it was easy. Maybe I'll do one more year. And then, no. He knows what he's doing. But look, I'm wise to it now at this stage.
Robin, you can bring your dog to training. It's fine. It's fine. It's whatever you need.
So we'll see. Look, I would be happy with some sort of helping out in some way.
That's called a coach.
Yeah, but you see, not a full-time coach. I don't think a full-time coach would be what I'd be after.
They could ring you on a Sunday and go, give us a debrief. And you go, I'll do that. I'll do that.
I do 2 days a week, but I wouldn't do. I'm basically just thinking out loud.
I know.
To the public right now, which is probably not the best idea to do.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, no, definitely need to do some thinking on before I speak on these things.
This is going to be funny. The fallout of this is going to be funny, like people messaging me going, I know, go on. Because even when I'd Bernard Jackman on, and I don't know how, but a bunch of Welsh people listened to this podcast for the one he was on, and they were like, he can come back anytime he wants. And he was like, no, I'm done. I'm fucking done. Thank you very much.
Very good.
But he told me about, now you can dispel the myths. He was kind of saying the laissez-faire kind of, well, you kind of said it about the French fellas already, but he's one of the first days he showed up, there was a break in training and like busting out bread rolls and sipping wine. I said, one fella sparked up a fag and he's looking at this going, and he went, I wouldn't say anything.
There's like maybe 4 or 5 guys on the team who would smoke like every day. And when I first came, I was like, I heard about this, but I was like, is this like, is this actually what's going on? And then the biggest thing was like after a game, we were on the bus on the way back, having a few beers on the bus. And one of the lads sparks up a fag on the bus. I was like, surely not. And he's like,
not even on the bus.
On the bus. I was like, surely not. Like, he's like, oh oui, c'est normal, non? C'est pas problème. I was like, oh my God, what is going on?
It's me one of those immediately. Let's see how.
That's look, they're like that. They won't be told what to do, and they think if you kind of restrict them, they won't be able to play to their best ability. That kind of way.
Oh yeah, taking away their cigarettes is dreadful for their ability.
Yeah. Anyway, you can't change them. You won't change them. So just leave them.
I kind of like that though. Do you know that kind of way? I kind of, yeah, it's like,
but like it's the French attitude towards everything. Like they won't be told what to do. If something is hard, they'll have a protest. Like, they will protest absolutely everything. So you gotta just roll with them and let them do what they want. Like, sure, they have, the healthcare here is ridiculous. The school is ridiculous. Like, the school is 9 till 12, 2 hours off, back in at 2 till 4:30, and then they have a half day on a Wednesday and a half day on a Friday.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like 2 hours off Monday, Tuesday, Thursday in the middle of the day. They all go home, and then half day on a Wednesday, half day on a Friday. And then they're like, why are French people lazy? Well, they're taught laziness from their first going to school. Is like, you don't have to work here, no. And then they go into the professional world, and everywhere closes at lunchtime, and nobody works on a Sunday anywhere. Like, there's a supermarket that closes all day Sunday here. I'm like, how can a supermarket with like fresh produce close on a Sunday? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But that's just how they do things. I think legally you're only allowed to work 30 hours a week here in France. Like,
class.
Yeah.
I mean, as an adult, that's class. But I mean, if you're trying to teach children,
yeah, if you're trying to run a business, I'm like, how does anybody survive here? Like, what the? And like, everything closes for lunch. So if it's closed for lunch, like, you know, lunchtime is when people get their jobs done and they're working a normal job. But if everything closes, like, when do people get their shit done? Like,
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, what?
I just don't understand when anything gets done. Like, it's bizarre. But well, can't change them.
That's what I was going to ask. What is the place like? Because I've always when I find myself watching programs like with my wife, like Escape to Chateau and stuff like that, you know, there's notions of going to France. And I remember Mick O'Driscoll telling me he went to Perpignan for a year, and he said it's the most bizarre moment of his time of his life. They put him living in this tiny little village with this little old woman and this giant man. They were like, it was an old village, so everybody there was like under 5'5". And this giant man with a Cork accent walking around. It was like something like Princess Bride or something. It was just a bizarre time. Good, but bizarre time.
France is so big that, like, you know, areas differ so much. Like, you know, obviously where we are, it's a pretty small city. I think it's like 60-something thousand. And then, you know, you go to Paris and it's just like so busy and so much noise and traffic, and you know, there's no traffic here. Like, it's just so calm, quiet, like nicely spread out. It's a nice size for me. Like, I'm not really keen on mad panicky city. Like I went to London. I went to London last week for two days, basically 48 hours, and like, the population of Angoulême, where I am, is 60,000 something. Like, I saw 60,000 people in those 2 days. In London, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I was like, where are all these people coming from and going? Like, it was like 11:30 at night, and it was just like rush hour traffic jam everywhere. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, where are all these people going? It's a Thursday and it's absolutely rammed at 11:30. Like, it's just, it's so different to where I am.
I get heart palpitations. I remember one of the first times I was gigging in London, and I was there, a mate who lived there at the time, and he was like, man, you're such a culture. And I was like, what are you talking about? And we were going down an escalator. I was like, you're taking, like, I'm leaning on talking. He's like, just move the fuck over.
Yeah.
I said, what? There's no way this is a tour. And all of a sudden, like, this gallop of people came down beside me. It all converged in this one underground fucking, I suppose, plaza. Just thousands of people. I went, it looks like World War Z. Like, if one of these fuckers bites me, that's it. I'm gone. Like, this is one matchstick pulls out on that whole thing, and the entire thing collapses.
That's very much like what it's like. Now, you won't have that if you ever come here. Trust me, you'll be grand. You'll have lots of space around you, which I love. I like, you know, I'm from the country and whatever, and the city is perfect. It has everything you'd want. You know, or hour and a half from the coast, and hour and a half to Bordeaux and La Rochelle, and you know, it's, if you want to go home, you can go home pretty quick.
Grand.
So like, it has everything we want. but then I have mates down who live down in Biarritz and stuff, and I go down to see them a bit. And Biarritz is class, like just beautiful part of the country. And then you go like down to Nice, and it's like a completely different country again. So nearly in Italy, and it's like so different. Like we kind of was looking into maybe moving, like when I retire, when I retire, that maybe move somewhere else for a few years just for the crack, see another bit of France, whatever. But like was thinking kind of down near Perpignan or Béziers or somewhere.
Oh, lovely.
But pipe dreams, pipe dreams.
I have an idea. We get Channel 4 on. You buy a small chateau somewhere. You do it.
You're like, I have no kids and I can work from home, so I can work anywhere. Is that what you're telling me? I was like, okay, I'll go somewhere really nice in the sun and like milk up there for a few years, if I can. But like I said, we'll see how we go. But yeah, look, there's so many parts of France that are just absolutely stunningly beautiful, and they're all so different. And you can have the big, like, there's so many huge cities as well. Like Ireland has kind of Cork, and Dublin, Galway, Belfast, and that's kind of it. Whereas like France has like 66 million people. And like Paris only has, I think, 2 million. So it's
not really, even that big of a city.
No, it's really not that big. Like you think of London, and it's like 12 million.
Yeah,
it's horrible. So like there's a lot of people spread out in a lot of different cities in France, and there's kind of something for everyone, really.
So what other than walking the dog and sipping cheese and trying your colleague cigarettes, what do you do to rack up a bit of downtime, like?
Well, I play a bit of golf as well, but I've, like I said, I've been working with that company now for the last 9 months, tipping away at that. So that's kind of taken up a bit of time as well, and between those 3 or 4 activities now, don't have too much time left in the day.
I used to build golf courses in a previous life. I was an engineer.
Right.
I built the one in Bunclody.
That's a fine course with the elevator.
I joked about that elevator, right? Because there was such a snake to get between 17 to 18. I went, well, we can put in a path, but you know what? It'd be gas, lads, if we put in an elevator. And I swear to God, money back to the blue.
Genius.
I was joking. I was absolutely joking. And the next thing, can we design that? I went, it's just a lift shaft outdoors, but no, this is madness. And the next thing, they brought in engineers.
Never looked back. It's a signature part of the course, like. That's mad.
So I lived in Bunclody for 7 months. It was just me and a load of Latvian lads, mostly.
Wow.
So
Jeez, that's crazy. Like I would have gone to Bunclody when I was in secondary school. First places we used to go out, like there's a club in Bunclody called the Meadowlands.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that was my 17, 18, 19. We'd all go to Meadowlands, and it was all just like the boggers from my school, and
Wranglers and brown trousers.
And the place would be stinking of fags and like drink all over the floor. Floor would be sticky, and you paid like a tenner in, and that got you like your entry and like chips and a sausage inside.
Yeah.
So Jesus, Bunclody is a fine spot. Well,
it was. I won't lie. I didn't see much of it.
That's not the worst thing. There's not much going on there either.
No.
But no, it was lots of memories in Bunclody.
Yeah, it was interesting time, and it seemed to spurn a lot of golfers. I remember I couldn't believe that I used to build houses, and that's how I got to know Mick O'Driscoll. I built his house, and I built a couple more on a big place in Cork, and then went build a golf course. I got they say they call it headhunted, but I think it's like relax, lads. It's fucking they offered me a job.
Sounds so like I'm a big deal.
Yeah, and it's such an Irish thing. I can't bring myself to say it, and it's Even somebody was in a bake. I went in for coffee today, and there was somebody ordered pain au chocolat, right? And it's, you can speak French, right? And you're in France. It's completely acceptable for you to say that. But I went, God, I'd love one of them, but there's no way I can bring myself, especially, and I can't say it phonetically in my accent either, because pain au chocolate is not.
Yeah. There's actually a big divide in France as to what they're called. If you're from the north, it's pain au chocolat, and from the south, it's a chocolatine.
Oh, I can deal with a chocolatine, a chocolatine.
Yeah. So like, it depends on where you're from now, what you call them things.
That is interesting. So
yeah, never knew. Everywhere else in the world, pain au chocolat, but like the south of France or something, apparently
it does make him. It sounds, it makes him sound a bit more adorable all the same. But now we have, right, you can run away from the rugby. You're going to open a cafe.
It's
Copey's Cafe.
Yeah, and you know what? We're going to open for lunch.
Yeah, you'll crucify everybody.
Yeah, it's not a very hard business plan. Open when everything else is closed, you'll make a fortune.
But you sell everything. You're going to sell petrol, coffee, fags, bread, and even you can go in and do your banking as well while you're in there. Yeah, and be a post office.
Need a washing machine and an iron as well. Just go to the back. Yeah, no problem.
Is there like you were saying, the rugby wouldn't be as intensity, but you must have gotten craftier. I won't keep you for too much longer. I know you've stuff to be doing, but you must have gotten craftier too, rather than, I know you're saying you're sticking your ligament back together.
Yeah.
And number 8, number 6, you take a fair bit of impact. But what way has your game developed, do you think, say, from when you used to take the big, or do you still enjoy taking a big fucking, scalp off somebody off the back of a scrum?
I guess I never really like taking too big of a scalp off someone because, it hurts.
You absolutely melted one of those Maoris, if I remember correctly. You melted somebody.
It's like you do enjoy that part of the game when you're hyped up and you're ready to go. You want to impart your physicality and stuff. But I suppose now, like I said, I have more of a leadership role, and I do a lot of talking on the pitch now. Like, it's constantly barking at lads, do this, go here, do that. Like, telling the 10 what to do sometimes. Like, just kick it, slow it down, do this. I'm like, so by the time I finish the game, my head is just like, whoa.
Right, yeah.
My throat is sore. I'm just like absolutely exhausted. But I suppose, craftier is one way, but I suppose definitely more of a leadership role in kind of how I go about the game now. Talking to guys and planning on what we're doing and fixing problems that are occurring on the pitch, and it's that's more what I'd say my game is like at the moment.
So, I suppose, given that you are going to play for another year or two anyway, I suppose.
Of course.
Like that, Robin, thanks so much. I won't keep you much longer. You've probably a dog to walk, and you've got tomorrow morning and everything else to back. You back train? Do you train 4 days a week, 5 days a week?
Yeah, we train. It depends on when the game is, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever. But usually it's 3 or 4 days a week. Like, we'll train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday play Friday or whatever.
And who's up next?
Variant of that. Sorry.
Who's up next for you?
Valence. So they're actually 1 point ahead of us at the moment. So we need a big win.
Is there an Irish fella playing in Valence?
There was last year, Sean Dougal. Was it last year? Yeah, last year. But
Centre.
No, back row. He was at Munster for a while.
Yes, foxy fella, is he?
Yeah, red-haired fella. Yeah, he's actually the S&C coach at La Rochelle now. He's gone to La Rochelle.
Right.
Rog and Duncan Ryan, yeah.
I can only apologise if this podcast ends up getting you a load of job offers from other clubs.
If clubs are using this podcast to find talent, the world has come to a bad place.
You joke, right? About a week after, now it was with Jackman, he sends me a screen grab of a text message he gets of a big, I suppose they'd be agri dairy company who are huge, I'm not saying their name again because I got enough advertising off it. But they approached him because they didn't realize he had done Japanese in school and came from an agri background they were cattle dealers. And the Japanese World Cup was about to happen. They went, would you fancy teaming up and heading over there for us? What?
That's mad.
So, just saying, you'd never know.
I don't know Japanese, but French, don't know that either.
We got to go.
Seriously struggling with the French, but we'll get by.
Well, you'll know how to at least order something inside the bakery. Will you keep up your social media, more stories and reels and funny stuff, please?
Of course.
So it's is it Robocopy? I always put people's links in the show notes anyway. Other than that, Robin Copeland, thank you very, very much.
An absolute pleasure.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers. Thanks, man.